Welcome back to the Creative Juice Podcast. Today I'm joined by someone who has helped shape Fortnite Creative and beyond, Michael Herriger, the CEO of Atlas Creative. His team has worked with the NBA, Microsoft, iHeart, and built some of the most iconic UEFN projects, including the OG Fortnite map that made headlines worldwide. Michael's story is packed with lessons, and we got some cliffhanger moments that you do not want to miss, like this one, when he opens up about the insane pressures of recreating the original Fortnite map.
We're building something that means so much to so many people. If we put this chest or this POI 2 feet to the left when it shouldn't be, players will yell at us.
Or this, where he explains how he had to push back against a brand that wanted to overload a game with ads.
There's an ad right here, 2 feet to the left. Can you place another one? If players feel like this is an ad, they will drop off.
And later, Michael breaks down the single biggest lesson Atlas learned about what players actually want from a game.
Players value replayability and simplicity over spectacle every single time.
That's just scratching the surface. From brand collabs to Roblox expansions to what the future of the metaverse really looks like, this conversation is loaded with great insight. Let's get started.
This is Creative Juice.
Michael, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a while. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, it has been. It has been, man. You have just been done everything in this space, worked with some of the biggest brands in this space, had successful games in this space, even dabbling in Roblox, which we'll get into. I'm super excited. But, before we just started, I just want to talk about kind of, how it started, I guess. So you went from building Fortnite maps to running a studio trusted by major brands. What was the moment you realized you could be a full-time business and not just side projects and stuff?
Yeah, I feel like an old man saying that this wasn't a thing when when we were in college, doing this wasn't even an option. So
yeah,
I was working in marketing, graduated with a film degree, and just was kind of figuring out where can I be most creative and where can I do things I love. And so it just started as a hobby, and then pretty quickly we were fortunate enough where myself and co-founder Jordan both had some individual success, and it was wait, they're actually going to pay me to build game. And so pretty quickly then we realized that there was a sustainable path there. And then we worked with the NBA and with Microsoft doing Halo. And that was kind of the moment that it was everything clicked. And when we saw kind of the need for just really high quality brand work and also original IP, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Dude, I remember that. Was it the Gorge? You remade the original Halo. It was a capture the flag. It was just like the in Halo.
Yeah. Blood Gulch, Gorge. I feel like there's 5 names for that.
Yeah. It was it was huge. It was such a fun map, man. I remember that you guys crushed it. I mean, this is, what are we talking, 4 or 5 years ago now, though. I think it's weird how much time's flying.
Yeah, we're literally celebrating our company's 5th anniversary this year, which is just weird to think about.
It's crazy, man. Congrats. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of your, big projects within Fortnite. So one of the projects people probably still talk about is OG Fortnite map creation. Atlas made headlines with OG Fortnite map that was recreated with UEFN. It kind of dropped right as UEFN came out. What was the wildest behind the scenes challenges bringing something so nostalgic back to life, or that story? I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, that entire experience was a wild ride just because UEFN was brand new. We were in the alpha, just figuring out what should we build. We had some other side projects that we're doing, like hide and seek, that's still doing good, but we were everyone wants OG Fortnite. It has been asked for forever. We got to give the people what they want. And so, we decided to build that, and it was early UFN. So there were a lot of just little things that we were just learning. And one of the big things people don't realize, which is a really actually small thing, is just the chest system in Fortnite.
Yeah.
It's not really that evolved just yet. And so just getting chest in the right places, having that amount of chest, having it feel like you're opening a chest from the good old days of there was the timing. And so we had to do just so much experimentation just on figuring out how a chess would work. And so that was just like a little small thing that popped in my head. But overall, I feel like the biggest challenge was just like the emotional side of it, of we're building something that means so much to so many people. So getting to do it was a great opportunity, but also like really scary that every single moment we're like, if we put this chest or this like POI like 2 feet to the left when it shouldn't be, players will yell at us. Like, and so that was just a big challenge, but then it ended up paying off, and it was really fun to see. There was, I think, 100,000 CCU on release, and then a lot of influencers. I feel like the big moment was seeing them go in and be like, literally, this feels exactly the same, and that was worth it all.
I bet. And to piggyback on that, because like, I mean, even the lighting, like, or whatever, like, the OG Fortnite fans, and at this time there was no OG around Fortnite, none of this stuff we didn't get to see. So this was kind of the first time in years we actually kind of got to see it all together. Like, people would recreate POIs and stuff, but like it fully, the original BR map. And that is a tough, because this community, they don't hold back. Like, you're just like you said, if there's like a chest not in the right place, or the fog, the lighting is not this, or the grass isn't they will go nuts, man. So you guys had I can't imagine what you guys had to go through.
Even literally just the idea of like, now we have like sprint and more mobility, and back then you didn't. And the amount of meetings we had debating of, do we make it completely nostalgic where you basically move slow when you're in water, you slow down even more, or do players even like that anymore? So a lot of fun decisions like that, but it was a blast.
Yeah, I can't imagine that is funny too, because when you go back into the OG and the original Fortnite, man, it was so much slower. Your builds were just so slow when they placed it. It's not like anything like your edits, everything. So having to recreate all that had been wild, man. That's a very, very cool story. Very cool story, man. I want to get into kind of some of your brand work. So you've worked with some big names across sports, music, and even candy, right? So you partnered with NBA, iHeart, and so many others, right? What's the secret to making a branded map feel fun for players instead of just an...
I think hot take, there's not even like a crazy secret. I think people just get caught up, and they just like, they choose not to prioritize players because they get caught up in like the needs of a brand. And at the end of the day, I think if you have good communication with the brand, and you can kind of level set at the beginning of understanding that like, we live and breathe this space, we are players, and we really understand Fortnite and Roblox, you will understand your brand better than we ever can. But if we can leverage that together, I think that's what I guess, if there is a secret, is the secret, is just kind of that trust and understanding of not overdoing it and just letting the player kind of experience it.
No, that's exactly right. I believe that's the same thing. I think when you go way into your game just being straight branded and not have anything familiar with the Fortnite audience, which I want to talk about Roblox here in a minute and stuff, because with the two different audiences, how some of that works. But Fortnite is just so different, as most people in the space understand. You're working with the characters of Fortnite still. You're working with the weapons of Fortnite still. So you still have to kind of like make sure, like, it still has to be a little Fortnite still in this ecosystem. I don't know anywhere else to say it differently, but it's definitely a struggle. I think brands, we've seen some bespoke maps take off with brands. There's been a few that's been done really well. It's definitely not easy. So people who have been able to do that, hats off. But it's an interesting space. I always love to ask that question, especially with people who are doing it successfully in this space. So let's talk about Roblox a little bit. Right? So I know you've been expanding into new platforms beyond Fortnite. So expanding into Roblox, I'm sure, was a big leap. What do you see in Roblox maybe that Fortnite couldn't offer? And, how did you decide which platform, gets projects and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't necessarily say there was anything that like Fortnite lacked being the reason why we went to Roblox or anything, but our big thing has always been, we want to build extraordinary things for players. And really that like 4 players is the most important part of the decision of there's no better example of a platform growing the pace that Roblox is growing, and players clearly love it and they engage on such high levels. And there's a ton of that on Fortnite too, which is why we started there. And it's just been a huge passion for us to continue to grow in that area too. But yeah, it just was, how can we just focus on Fortnite when there's also this other huge platform that is doing just really amazing things? And
Yeah.
I think some of the things we like really saw when we first started doing kind of like R&D was the simplified gameplay of, it's similar to Fortnite in the way of like just simple works best. And so we knew that if we could take the learnings we've learned in Fortnite, there might be some translations there. And there was, but also tons of learnings as well.
Yeah.
The economy is very different, but yeah, it seems like we'll see what happens with Fortnite too, because it seems like they're catching up in some of those areas. And then just like the social element of it, there were so many things that were, I think both platforms have additives in different areas, but also they have a lot of similarities. And those similarities, I think, were what made us excited about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you've even kind of ventured off into like console first gaming or maybe mobile, right?
Yeah, we did a game for a console called Next Playground, which is, if you remember like Xbox Connect back in the day, that's like and all of that. And that one was a lot of fun too, because they're the fastest growing like independent console, not PlayStation, Xbox. And so there's a lot of cool things going on in that space. And honestly, personally, I just like being a dad now. Like I really wanted to do something that like my daughter can play. And so that was a really fun one as well.
It's very cool. And that's I'm sure a whole nother animal, and probably makes you feel you appreciate probably Roblox or in Fortnite a little more after probably going straight to a game like that where you have to do everything with porting and everything, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was an insane project. There were definitely moments of like, can we do this? And I think the best thing that came out of that, outside of a really good experience that players ended up loving, was just I don't know, when you've been in the space for a while, it's impossible not to get imposter syndrome at times.
Oh, yeah.
And being able to tackle that and do it as a team and do it to the level of extraordinary that we ask ourselves to do every day was really fun and really rewarding, because it was like, we know what we're doing. And sometimes you just got to remind yourself that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think that, I think I assume everyone, I've gone through it always happens, imposter syndrome, and getting these big goals, big projects put in front of you, and especially if they're a little different than what you're used to, and then you go in and you crush it, that's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, 100%. A
lot of our listeners are creators trying to like break into the partnership space themselves. So, I want to ask you this question. A lot of them struggle to land them. So like, what's a common mistake you see creators making with pitching themselves to companies and things like that?
Yeah, I think the number one thing we see, and like, we're not even immune to it. There's been moments where we've had to take a step back and say like, oh, we're leaning too much into this. But I feel like the thing is, creators often pitch themselves almost instead of their product, or instead of like figuring out what the needs of the brand are. And so it's really easy to go in and be like, I'm this talented dev, or I'm this talented studio, you should work with us. That doesn't mean anything to a brand. They have goals, they care about impact, they care about the end product. And you as the creator, or you as the studio, that is not the product. The product is an extraordinary experience or an extraordinary integration. And so I think we've seen a lot of people make the mistake of, I can make this really cool map for you, or I can do this, but it just doesn't translate. You have to speak the brand language.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I mean, it is totally a different animal. And I think it's a lot of us, you got to land your first project, I think too. Like that's a big thing, I think, is, when I was starting my own studio and all those things, it was that like the first one, you got to get one out of the way. And even if that means, maybe, you take it at lower cost, whatever it is, you just got to get that brand deal, and get that in your portfolio, because honestly, when you're talking to the big people, the big players in the space, they're going to be looking at what you've been doing and what you've done, and and who you've worked with before as well, I think, and I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think portfolio and just networking are two of the other big things of you can't even get in those conversations to pitch the end product if you don't have a good portfolio and you don't have work that speaks for itself and you don't have the right conversations to be able to be in the conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. Networking is a good one too, man. I didn't even think of that, but that is so true. I think a lot. If you're a studio in this space trying to make it or trying to trying to get these deals, you should be at some of these events. You should be at these things where people are meeting, because I know after I talk to somebody face to face, even if I've talked to them online, it's just different.
Yeah, 100%. We were at RDC this past weekend, and we've seen each other at Unreal Fest too, and there's tons of other moments like SEG3 and GDC, and those are really impactful, especially if you use your time wisely and you don't go. I think the biggest thing there is don't go just to get the deal, like go to truly make connections and the deals follow.
Yeah. Every event my voice is gone at the end of it. And that's how I know I've talked to a lot of people. That's how I know I've been making connections. And I need to figure that out because it's a problem. It's a problem.
Literally the same thing happened this past weekend. By its third day, I was like, where is my voice? But I guess it's a good sign.
Exactly. And and maybe on the parties, don't go so hard as well, which I don't. I don't even really drink, but you're up late, you're talking from 8 a.m. to midnight, whatever, 1 a.m. every day. But at the end of those conferences and those things, it's like, I know I've made lots of connections or just keeping up, seeing people, seeing friends, talking to other devs, other teams. The questions that you have that maybe you were scared to ask, sometimes you can be like, all right, hey, how'd you do that? Or like, all right, man, you guys have been crushing it. What's your secrets? And sometimes creators are even a little more, in person, will give those things, those up.
Yes, 100%. I feel like I've seen people go with the intention of just connecting with brands and they ignore that side of it. Yeah. And that side it's so important. The learnings that you get from other people and the connection you get, and we're all doing something that we all feel passionate about. And so understanding that and understanding, yes, there is competition, but there's also we're all doing our dream job together. Yeah. And if we can bridge those gaps together, I think it would be a much better place.
Definitely. No, man. Thanks for that answer, Michael. So you've mentioned before, how important it is to think about players first. So can you share a time when a brand wanted something that didn't fit with the gamers, and how did you convince them to rethink it?
Yeah. This is a tough one. Yeah, without throwing anyone under the bus.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no, it was actually when I worked with Immature Gamer, and it was just wanted.
Its studio's horrible.
There was a project where a brand basically wanted a ton of ads, literally to the point where they were like, we just need more impressions. There's an ad right here, 2 feet to the left. Can you place another one? 2 more. Can you place another? And it was honestly, at first we were like, is this a little bit are they kidding? They were not. If they were kidding, it would have made the conversation a lot easier. But usually how we address situations like that is we just kind of have the conversation about if players feel like this is an ad, they will drop off. Ads and brands coming into the space in no way hurts players. If anything, there's moments where it can be additive, and that's what we strive for. But it does hurt players when you don't actually understand the player. And when you're trying to just plaster things all over the place, they will leave within 30 seconds. And so the conversation we had is this is your target for impressions. These are all of our KPIs. We understand that. We're on the same page as you, 100%. If we do it this way, we will get a flash of impressions and they will leave and it won't mean anything. But if we do it authentically, that player is going to stay for 30 minutes because this was an integration. And so we know all the metrics and we know how the players interact with this game. And so that's just the hardest part to understand is it's not crazy science, but it is counterintuitive in some ways where it's if you put in less, they will be engaged longer, which means more impressions and more authenticity. So
yeah. Well, it makes perfect sense. And especially on the integration, right? That's super important. You already have players, so you got to be very careful with crossing that line. So No, that's great advice. So Atlas has released so many different maps and projects with billions of plays across your games. Like, what single map or project taught you like the biggest lesson about what players actually want?
Yeah. I think I was trying to think through this one, and not that there's like a single map, but just those early days of UEFN, trying to understand that. And we had so many more tools at our disposal that there were lots of moments where we would just focus on kind of spectacle, and we'd focus on like, how pretty can we make this? Because now we can make things like so much better. And now we can do these complex programming things, and we can do like really complex core game loops and all that fun stuff. And we were like, let's just see what we can do. And really quickly, we relearned, because we knew this and we just forgot it. Like, we learned the lesson of players value replayability and simplicity over spectacle every single time. And so despite how beautiful your environment is, or how on Twitter you can brag about this feature and this feature so advanced, it doesn't really matter unless players are responding and engaging with it. And so it just changed to how we think, and we always try to design for long-term replayability and repeatable fun. And it was just a lesson we had to relearn, and we'll probably relearn it again one day. And so it's just like, it's something we have to always remind ourselves of.
Yeah, no, that's great answer, because a lot of people come in this space and I think all of us, have gone through that, where it's okay, I want to make the craziest, best looking environment, all these crazy mechanics with verse. And at the end of the day, look at all the top maps that are kind of popular in our space still.
Yeah.
And I will say that it's not a bad thing. I'll follow up on that in a second. But like, yeah, it really is simple geometry, very easy to, understand, get into the action, and a fun game loop. And Roblox has been doing that for a long time, and we've seen that. And it's really hard to stay in those lines, though, because especially when you get UEFN, and we've been so limited in with 1.0, and now we can do all these crazy things. And you don't know, especially when UEFN came out, we didn't know what players were going to like or want, and we all have this vision of what we think UEFN should look like, and what are all these games. And that's a huge topic in our community. Like, higher effort value map should be there, but at the end of the day, the algorithm, so there are some of those options out there, but players are choosing some of these simpler games. But as a big studio working with brands, I think, it's also it wasn't a bad thing when you learned it all right, or learn that side and know that your team is capable of doing that. And then when you are working with brands, there is, I think, a quality level that you do have to bring.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it goes both ways, where a lot of people can take the simple so far that they try to dumb it down, and they try to spell it out for players too much.
Yeah.
Like, the players are smart. They understand. But our biggest thing, and one kind of recent example of it is, we have a game that's doing really well on Roblox called Arcade Basketball. And it just started as super simple park basketball kind of gameplay. And then our kind of philosophy is like, once we've earned it with players and we see them responding to the core game loop, then we can kind of give them more, and we can get a little more, I guess, complex, you can say. And so for that specific example, it was making sure we can test the hypothesis of this game works. The game was performing great. Then our live ops plan after that was, let's introduce a lot of like ways to earn things as a player, and let's introduce rank, and let's introduce a rep system. And those are like more complicated mechanics, but they don't work until we earn it with the player first in that simplistic way. And so that's kind of how we've been trying to approach it for the most part.
No, that's a gem. Everyone listening, it, and just like, you had your MVP, you didn't go invest it's too much time and effort into a game that you weren't sure it was gonna take. You got initial player base. They think it's fun. That tells you it's a signal. Okay, and now we should maybe invest more into this. And then the players already know kind of the game now. So once you're adding new things inside of it, it's not as abrupt, or not, I guess, a neural load where you have to learn all these things at once.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing too is then it only helps with your retention, because you're adding new features and deeper features for people to be able to come back and engage even longer and better.
Yeah, that is so hard. Man, I think that's the hard, like, feature creep, man. How do you decide that?
Yeah, and I wish I could say we're like perfect at it. Like Arcade
Yeah.
Basketball is one example where it went well, and we've had in the past year other games where feature creep has completely destroyed. And so
Mm.
it's a hard thing to keep an eye on and to make sure that you're not doing.
Yeah, no, man, great answer. This next question, maybe not easy. We don't have easy questions around here, but like, there's been
Love it.
so much talk lately about the concept of the metaverse, which I know some people don't even like that term anymore. There's always the debate, right? Is the metaverse like hype, the hype of it, versus the actual reality? So, like, from your perspective, working with brands, are we closer to the real metaverse? Which, that's a broad term, or are we still in the buzzword territory?
Yeah, I think we're in the middle ground. There's some people that get so upset with that word and are like,
Yeah,
just a buzzword, stop using it. And the metaverse is not real. But like, there are parts of the metaverse that are extremely real. And we're seeing that in the way that Fortnite and Roblox have become these social spaces that are this kind of like brings you in kind of space. But also in my mind, it also depends on kind of your definition of the metaverse. And
yeah,
to me, it's a lot more interconnected. And it is a lot of the things that Tim and David over at Fortnite and Roblox are talking about. And right now it feels like the kind of analogy I like is if the metaverse is going to be like, let me back up. Now, what we're at is we basically have Disney and Universal. And it's like they're both amazing parks. They're immersive. They have elements of what the metaverse can be. But until like you can literally go to a place and everything you buy from Disney shows up in Universal and you can just transport fluidly between the two and all of those different elements, I don't think we necessarily are there. But I think
yeah.
like when people say we're not even close, I think I think there's a middle ground in between those two things.
That's a great answer. And I think Tim made a tweet a while ago, something about basically wanting to work with Roblox in some sense with skins and those things, because there is definitely that part of it where there's still paywalls, IP issues where like I want to wear my whatever Ninja Turtle skin, over in Roblox, whatever the metaverse whatever that comes up to be, like I want to be able to wear it. And yeah, there's still a lot of issues I think we have to solve on that front. But yeah, I think a lot of people watch Ready Player One, and that's like their idea of the metaverse, and I love that idea as well. But also, I think we just have what Roblox and Fortnite's starting to do as well. It's just it's so you can play it on an old phone, you can play it on old consoles. And yeah, the idea of just everyone strapping into a headset or this or that. I mean, you have to have a good PC. You got to have pay $1,000 for the peripherals. Like, it's just that is a huge. You have to have fast internet. There's so many hurdles I think we have to solve. Which, well, one day, it'll be there. But yeah, it's a fun topic. I love talking about it.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like the biggest thing that I think about too is like the way tech is accelerating. We have no idea what it's going to look like in 5-10 years. And like what people thought like the future looked like 50 years ago was flying cars and this and that.
Yeah.
Like the metaverse might look totally different than what we can even imagine right now. It might even be a freaking chip in your head that like,
yeah.
Some context, because that gets a little too sci-fi for me, but we just don't know what it looks like. And so, yeah, to define it right now, it's hard.
Totally. No, thanks for taking a stab at it. And no, it's always a fun topic to talk about. So both Fortnite and Roblox have their own systems to reward creators. Roblox has their partner program. Fortnite has like engagement payouts. Like, how do you compare the two systems for creators trying to make a living? And where do you see each heading? And I know we just got some big announcements on top of that at the Roblox convention.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the 8.5% additional DevX, that's a big one. And I literally was sitting behind a dev who was probably like 17 or 18, and all I heard he turned to his friend and said, "I've been letting it sit in my account. Now I'm 8.5% richer," because I guess it retroactively goes back. And so everyone was so excited about it.
Yeah.
And shout out to that guy for waiting it out and keeping it in his account.
Yeah, that's one.
But
you got me some interest.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they both are doing really cool things. I think on Fortnite, the engagement payout is really rewarding. I think the thing that we would like to see them do in the future is to expand and be able to do things like monetization and in-game passes and all of that fun stuff, just because right now engagement payout is really strong. And when you can make a game and have it succeed and have it actually sustain its player base, which is the hard in Fortnite right now, it's extremely lucrative and can give you the basis to really like build upon that and continue to live ops your games and all of that fun stuff. Where on Roblox, it feels more like they just have the full ecosystem or are working towards that full ecosystem already, where not only do you get kind of payout for people playing your game and for bringing people from outside that haven't played Roblox into Roblox, like they've thought through a lot of those things, but on top of that, you can build your own business around your game, just like you can in AAA and just how you can in mobile. And so that's really, really powerful. And I think we'll see Fortnite do that eventually as well. And it also helps. Like, I think one of the things we've seen and like data shows, if you look it up anywhere, like paying players are more engaged players and they end up literally having more fun. And so I think a lot of people take it as like monetization is the worst thing in the world for games.
Yeah.
But when done right, and when we don't abuse our players and just try to get rich quick, which unfortunately some people try to do, it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's beneficial to the entire ecosystem.
I'm on that side as well. I'm excited for Fortnite to take that leap to give us more options for monetization. I know, fingers crossed. I know they just have it's a little different than Roblox, and you know this, like, just to the audience, it's just such a different than Roblox. We're just attached to the item shop in Fortnite, and players have spent years and lots of money on these skins. So, and it's part of our earning the payout is people buying those skins. So they have like a hurdle they have to overcome, I think, to allow that. I mean, not too large. I mean, it's possible, but like, it's definitely an interesting thought. And I know a lot of people are really excited for that to come over to Fortnite someday. But I think also that point about like people are just like the pop-ups in your face, buy this or that, and you can probably attest to this more than anyone, but like if you're doing that, I think people are leaving your game. Like you have to do it right.
Even if it's going to be a flash in the pan if it is. Yeah. So it's just better to treat players fairly, which you would think you wouldn't have to say, but
yeah. No, man, we're cooking. We got a few more questions left, Michael. Man, this has been awesome. So before we close out, I want to make sure you get a chance to share what's next. So I want to give you the floor here. So can you shout out what Atlas Creative is working on next, or anything exciting you want listeners to check out?
Yeah, for sure. So I mentioned a little earlier, arcade basketball on Roblox is doing really well, and we're really proud of that one. It's a lot of fun. So much so that we're kind of breaking news here, but we're doing like arcade football next, and we're going to start expanding from there. And so we're really excited about that to drop soon into early access. So keep an eye on that. And then later in November, I can't express how excited I am for this. I think the thing I'm most excited about to date with Atlas, there's a really large project that I can't share too much on. Keep an eye out for November, because it's going to be a really, really fun one. And amazing. I'll give you a little hint. It's something we have shared interest in. So,
okay. I can take some guesses, but we'll save it. I mean, November's around the corner. So where can people follow you and your team?
Yeah, so we are on Twitter, X. I don't think I'll ever make the transition to actually X, but TikTok, and then we have a Discord as well. And so you can find us there, and then also on platform, Fortnite and Roblox. It's all Atlas Creative.
Amazing. I'll have links in the description here, and also his LinkedIn as well if you want to reach out or chat with them. So for the last question, for anyone listening who's just started their creative journey, if you could give one piece of advice to a young creator who wants to follow your path from building their first map to running a studio, what would it be?
Yeah, don't do it. I hate it. No, the best decision you'll make. I would say start small and focus on finishing projects. We have an Atlas retreat every single year, and at those retreats, we break off into kind of departments like art, programming, and all of like for this one specifically, the entire art team came together and we kind of build like a mantra or something we want to focus on for the year. And last year's I was really excited about and essentially charged them with like the saying is perfect is the enemy of progress. And it's just, there's so many times where we get caught just stalling progress because we want to get this perfected, and there is no such thing as perfect. And just like at the end of the day, you are not going to learn unless you put things out there, and the only way you put things out there is by moving forward and just trying. And so we're in an age where literally in Fortnite and Roblox and other platforms, and maybe some later this year too, we have the ability to publish, quickly iterate, get feedback, and loop it. And that is something no one's ever had in game development. Usually when you shipped a product, that was it.
Yeah.
Little changes here and there, but like it's really hard to change. And the fact that you can actually push a game in a week or in a month is insane and never unprecedented. So just the fact that we can do that, take advantage of that, get feedback. If your superpower can become learning, you are in a great place.
Oh, man. Great answer. Look, Michael, I appreciate you coming on today, man, sharing so much knowledge about the space, about your studio, and giving advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. There's not many people that are in multiple UGC spaces that are also being successful in both spaces as well. So hats off. You guys have been able to do some incredible things in this space and work with some of the biggest brands and crush it. So I also want to take my hat off to you, brother, because you guys have been crushing it. Congrats.
Yeah, appreciate it. And likewise, roses right back to you. You have killing it since day one. We've now known each other for maybe over 5 years, which is wild to say. We're getting old.
Getting gray, man. What the hell is that? What's going on, man?
Yeah,
we have kids now. Well, I guess we could talk about that a little for a second. A little fun before we close off. So Florp is what you were known as in Fortnite Creative, and you made lots of games. You actually had one of the first Red vs. Blue maps too that really popped off. Like
little known fact.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, man. Too bad you didn't really keep that thing going.
Honestly, yeah. The amount of times I'm like, oh, who's that? No, but I'm really glad we ended up going with Atlas. But
you were also like into programming early on. Like you were a big player in this space. I don't know if a lot of people know this, and creative, not just running studios. You were building yourself. I think one of the first we did a video because you also had a good YouTube channel you were doing well at as well. And I think we did like was it a 1v1? We did something where I came on to your channel for something. This was a long time ago.
Like I'll have to look back and check. It's been but I think we were doing something where it was like on the channel we do like almost like speed builds or tutorials with other creators. So like you had your advanced 1v1s and things that was killing it. And so I think we just like tried to see like in an hour, could we build this or that or something like that. But yeah.
And we did. We crushed it.
Yeah.
It was not people listening now. Like, yeah, 1v1. That takes me an hour to do.
Well, back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back in the day too, things were a little different as well. We had to work with devices and visual coding, but no, man, those were good times. And yeah, man, crazy to think about those times to now.
Yeah. And so much has changed in 5 years. So I am excited to see what else changes in another 5 years. A little scary.
Yeah. It is scary. But no, man, you're good. You're in a good spot, brother. No, again, thanks for coming on. And man, we'll have to maybe get you on another time.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. Huge thanks to Michael for coming on and sharing the Atlas creative journey. If you want to check out what they're working on, I've linked all of Michael's socials, Atlas creative accounts, all in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, subscribe, and like the podcast. And please take a minute to leave a positive review on your favorite podcast app. It really helps. See you in a fortnight, which is in 2 weeks. And remember, don't hate, create.